Hey everyone, and welcome back to Relive Tomorrow. Today, we're diving into a hot topic, remakes. Hollywood keeps revisiting classics, and sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. We've picked 5 iconic movies that got the remake treatment, spanning different genres and eras, and we're putting them to the test. Did they capture the magic of the originals or leave us wishing they'd stayed in the vault? Let's break it down. If you're new to the channel and enjoy movie explorations, dives into film history, and passionate discussions about all things cinema, don't forget to like this video and hit that subscribe button. It helps us keep bringing you awesome content. Alright, enough chit-chat, let's get started on these remakes. The Lion King. The 1994 original, directed by Roger Allers and Rob Minkoff, was a masterpiece of animation. It wasn't just the visuals, the story itself had such emotional depth. We laughed, we cried, we wanted to be part of that circle of life. Now let's talk about the 2019 remake, directed by Jon Favreau. Visually stunning, absolutely. The CGI is some of the most realistic I've ever seen. But there's something to be said about the way the original's animation allowed for more emotion to be conveyed through the characters' expressions. There's a certain stylization that allows for greater emotional impact, and I think that's where the remake falls a bit short. Don't get me wrong, the voice acting in the remake is phenomenal. Donald Glover as Simba and Beyoncé as Nala were inspired choices, and they brought a new dimension to the characters. James Earl Jones returning as Mufasa? Pure genius. It's just that, for me, the remake felt a little too beholden to the original. It's almost like they were afraid to deviate from the source material, but by playing it safe, they lost some of the magic, the heart that made the original so special. It felt a little too much like a technical showcase and less like a story that truly connected on an emotional level. And, that's the thing about remakes. That's so fascinating to me. It's not just about updating the visuals, it's about capturing the essence of the original, its soul, and translating that into something new and engaging for a modern audience. Sometimes that means taking risks, making bold choices. In the case of The Lion King, I think the remake was a technical marvel, but it lacked the emotional resonance of the original. It's like seeing a perfect replica of a painting you love. It might be technically impressive, but it lacks the artist's original touch. What do you guys think? Did The Lion King remake roar loud enough for you? Or did it leave you feeling a little flat? Let me know in the comments below. Now let's talk about another Disney classic that got the live-action remake treatment, Beauty and the Beast. The 1991 animated version holds a special place in cinematic history. It was a groundbreaking film, pushing the boundaries of animation and storytelling. The music, the characters, the romance, it all just worked so perfectly. Fast forward to 2017 and we get a live-action remake directed by Bill Condon, starring Emma Watson as Belle and Dan Stevens as the Beast. Now, I love Emma Watson, and I think she brought a certain charm to the role of Belle. But for me, the remake fell into a familiar trap. It tried too hard to recreate the magic of the original, instead of forging its own path. It felt safe, predictable, and ultimately lacking the spark that made the original so captivating. One of the things that made the 1991 version so special was its animation. It was so expressive, so full of life. The characters, even the inanimate objects, had so much personality. The remake, while visually impressive, lost some of that magic in its transition to live action. It's tough to compete with the power of hand-drawn animation, especially when it comes to conveying emotion. Another aspect where I felt the remake fell short was the music. The remake's renditions of the classic songs felt a little too polished, a little too safe. They lacked the raw emotion, the power of the originals. Overall, I thought the Beauty and the Beast remake was a visually impressive but ultimately hollow reimagining of a classic. It lacked the heart, the soul, the magic that made the original so special. It's a reminder that sometimes some things are best left untouched. What do you think? Did the remake capture the magic for you, or did it fall short? Let me know in the comments below. Let's step into the world of pure imagination with Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory. The 1971 version, directed by Mel Stewart, was pure magic. It was whimsical, bizarre, and a little bit creepy, all the ingredients for a timeless children's classic. Gene Wilder's performance as Willy Wonka was iconic, equal parts mischievous and mysterious. Now, Tim Burton's 2005 take, Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, starring Johnny Depp, went for a different flavor altogether. Burton put his signature gothic, whimsical spin on the material, and Depp's Wonka was more eccentric and unsettling. It's a fascinating comparison because both films capture different aspects of Roald Dahl's book. The 1971 version is a visual treat even today. The sets are like something out of a dream, and the practical effects hold up surprisingly well. Burton's version, with its heightened color palette and CGI, creates a different kind of visual spectacle. It's more stylized, more overtly fantastical. Personally, I find myself drawn to the darker, more unsettling tone of Burton's version. Depp's Wonka, with his unnerving grin and distant demeanor, adds a layer of psychological complexity. But I can see why some might prefer the innocent charm of the 1971 film. This is a case where both the original and the remake have their own distinct strengths. It ultimately comes down to personal preference. And now, the 2023 Wonka musical brings a fresh musical twist to the beloved franchise, with Timothée Chalamet stepping into the shoes of the iconic character. Chalamet's portrayal brings a new depth and charm to the character, blending the whimsical with a modern flair. Do you prefer the whimsical, slightly creepy charm of the original, the darker, more psychologically complex take of Burton's version, or the vibrant musical flair of the latest remake? Let me know in the comments. If you've stayed with us this long, you must be enjoying the video. Don't forget to give us a like and subscribe to the channel. It helps us grow and bring you more amazing content. Now we're entering a different territory altogether with Scarface. The 1932 original, directed by Howard Hawks, was a groundbreaking gangster film for its time. It was gritty, violent, and tackled themes of ambition and corruption with unflinching realism. The 1983 remake, directed by Brian De Palma and starring Al Pacino, took the basic premise and cranked everything up to 11. It's a cocaine-fueled, ultra-violent epic that's become a cultural phenomenon in its own right. What's interesting about these two films is that they're both products of their respective times. The 1932 version reflects the anxieties of the Prohibition era, while the 1983 version is a product of the excess and materialism of the 1980s. Pacino's performance as Tony Montana is iconic. He's charismatic, ruthless, and ultimately tragic. Paul Mooney's performance in the original is more understated but equally effective. He embodies the cold-hearted ambition of the character. Both films are visually striking in their own way. The 1932 version uses shadows and light to create a sense of noirish dread, while the 1983 version is all about bright colors and ostentatious displays of wealth. It's hard to compare these two films directly because they're so different in tone and style, but both are powerful examinations of the corrupting influence of power and greed. Do you prefer the gritty realism of the 1932 original or the operatic excess of the 1983 remake? Let me know in the comments below. And finally, we arrive at Ghostbusters. The 1984 original, directed by Ivan Reitman, is a comedic masterpiece. It's got a perfect blend of humor, horror, and sci-fi, and the chemistry between the four leads is undeniable. Bill Murray, Dan Aykroyd, Harold Ramis, and Ernie Hudson created characters that are instantly recognizable and endlessly quotable. The 2016 remake, directed by Paul Feig, starring Melissa McCarthy, Kristen Wiig, Kate McKinnon, and Leslie Jones, faced an uphill battle from the start. It was met with a wave of negativity online, much of it rooted in sexism and a resistance to change. Now I'm all for gender-bending remakes and diversifying Hollywood. I think it's crucial to see ourselves represented on screen. But the 2016 Ghostbusters, unfortunately, didn't quite capture the magic of the original. The humor felt forced at times, and the CGI-heavy special effects lacked the charm of the practical effects used in the original. It's a shame because the cast is incredibly talented and I genuinely enjoyed their dynamic. However, I do think the 2016 Ghostbusters deserves credit for trying something different. It didn't just rehash the original beat for beat. It put its own spin on the material, introducing new ghosts and storylines. Ultimately, both films offer a fun, comedic take on the supernatural. The original is a classic for a reason, but the remake has its moments too. What did you guys think of the Ghostbusters remake? Did you find it a worthy successor to the original, or did it fall flat? Let me know in the comments. The big question, did these remakes do justice to the beloved originals? It's a tough one. Some, like The Lion King, were visually impressive but lacked the emotional depth of the original. Others, like Willy Wonka, offered a fascinating reinterpretation of the source material. As we conclude our journey through these cinematic face-offs, it's clear that each remake brings something unique to the table. The Wonka musical 2023, for instance, adds a new layer of musical charm to the timeless tale of Willy Wonka, proving that some stories are worth retelling in new and imaginative ways. What's your take on these remakes? What other movie face-offs would you like to see us tackle next? Let us know in the comments, and don't forget to like this video, subscribe for more movie explorations, dives into film history, and passionate discussions about all things cinema.